It being 6 o'clock on Thursday, February 15th, 2024, I'm calling this Board of Selectmen meeting to order, and we'll begin with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
After 26 years, PAC TV has changed its name to the Local Scene Government Services. So the new website for them will be www.thelocalscene.media and will be live in March. So with that said, this meeting is being recorded by The Local Scene. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify us at this time. Financial assistance applications are available on the town's website or by contacting the Selectmen's office. Thank you to our highway department, plow drivers, public safety workers during Tuesday's storm. I understand it wasn't as bad as we thought, but everyone was ready, and I appreciate the work that was done that day to keep all the streets clear and everyone safe. And for all the people who moved their cars and basketball hoops off the roadway, that makes a big difference so that we can make sure everyone gets where they need to go and the streets remain clear. With that said, the highway department is still seeking plow drivers, although I'm sure our highway superintendent would prefer we have no more storms. I can't control that. So if anyone's interested in becoming a plow driver for our town on a contract basis, you can go ahead and contact the highway department at 781-585-0513. Dog licenses are available in the clerk's office. Please keep in mind there's a $20 late fee if your dog is not registered by March 15th. The annual town meeting is Saturday, May 4th, which you guys will hear us talk about a lot in the coming meetings. There are also a number of dates related to the annual town election I want to just make everyone aware of. Nomination papers are available now in the town clerk's office as of this past Monday, and the paperwork we received for this meeting says nomination papers are due back by March 30th, although that's a Saturday, so I'm assuming it's probably March 29th before 11:30, before the clerk's office closes. So make sure you get it in by then. And then the last day to register to vote for the annual town election is Wednesday, May 8th, and the election itself is Saturday, May 18th. So that's a little bit later than prior years. We changed the bylaw recently, so just keep that in mind. May for both town meeting and the election. Anyone interested in volunteering? We have a number of vacancies on various committees and boards. We have 2 openings on the Conservation Commission. So their mission is to protect the town's natural resources and plans for protection. They acquire important land and water areas and manage open space for conservation as well as passive recreation. So if you or someone you know might be interested in becoming a Conservation Commissioner, please reach out to the Selectmen's office. Are there any other announcements?
I've never felt more safe in my lifetime than I have right now.
Also, we have Don Alkenbright, one of our selectmen, joining us remotely, so I'm going to do a roll call vote. Kim Emberg, aye.
Chauvin, aye.
Eric Crone, aye.
Don Alkenbright, aye.
All right. Is there anyone here for open forum?
I have a question. Our first appointment is at 6:15.
We'll take things out of order.
Thank you.
Yeah. So nobody raising their hand, nobody moving in here, so I think we'll move on. So just for everyone's knowledge, the way it works with appointments is if we have a specific time set on the agenda, we cannot start that item before that time. We can start it after that time, but we can't start it before that time. So the first appointment on the posted agenda is at 6:15. And then we also have a 7 o'clock and a 7:10. So those 3 appointments, we can't start until those times. So I'm going to take one out of order, and maybe a couple out of order, depending how this goes. But since we are filled half of our gallery here with the police department, maybe we'll skip ahead to an item that they might be interested in and let them get back to work. All right, so let's see. Skipping all of these pages, right?
Page 7.
All right, so moving to, I have my own notes on this, so I'm just going to move down to my notes. Sure I will. All right, no, I'm not, because I can't seem to find it in here. It's just because you guys are all waiting that I can't find it. That's why it's happening like that. Number 8. There we go. So as Chief Splain's contract ends in the coming days, and until the appointment of the next police chief can take place, Selectman Bouchard, who is unable to join us this evening, with the authority given by this board, has made a recommendation to our board for the appointment of an interim police chief. So unless there are any questions or concerns, I would entertain a motion on that recommendation.
I move the Board of Selectmen appoint Thomas Kelly as the interim police chief, effective at the end of Chief Splain's shift on February 20th, 2024, until April 1st, 2024, or until the start of the new police chief's employment, whichever comes first.
Second?
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
And while we're talking about the police, I want to thank Chief Splain for his years of service to the town. So, with that,
Absolutely.
congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Speech,
He clearly didn't want to give a speech, so. All right, we have 7 minutes. What can we do in 7 minutes?
We can do the MSBA grant,
We could. That motion will probably take 7 minutes by itself.
right?
Number 1?
Of additional items? Yeah, so, okay. So, sorry, I think
Sheila
yours will
can
take more
speak
than 7 minutes.
quick, or I can.
Hold on, I have a little, here, let me see if I, so in their most recent, we're moving on to additional item number 1. In their most recent meeting, the Kingston School Committee voted in unanimous support of submitting a statement of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Association, MSBA. I'm sure folks have heard us talk about that a lot with the roofs, to seek funding to replace the elementary school roof along with doors and windows. As a reminder, we've applied for this in the past, but as I understand it, the roof life requirement keeps moving forward into the future, meaning the roofs were 20 years old and when they were supposed to be eligible, and then they moved the deadline to 25, and then they moved the deadline to 30, et cetera. I don't know if it's actually gone that far, but regardless, at this point, our roof is 27 years old, past its life expectancy. So with that, you can read this novel, but one thing I would just mention is the motion they gave us is a little odd, so I think it's not has voted to authorize, but just
Okay.
to authorize.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I move to authorize the Board of Selectmen of Kingston, in accordance with its charter, bylaws, and ordinances, has voted to authorize the superintendent to submit to the Massachusetts School Building Authority the statement of interest form dated February 28th, 2024, for Kingston Elementary School located at 150 Main Street, Kingston, Mass. 02364, which described as explained the following deficiencies in the priority categories for which an application may be submitted to the Massachusetts School Building Authority in the future replacement, renovation, or modernization of the school facility systems, such as roofs, windows, boilers, heating, and ventilation systems, to increase energy conservation and decrease energy-related costs, and a school facility description of the deficiency described therein for each priority. The existing roof is 27 years old and is past its life expectancy, 20 to 25 years. The roof has numerous leaks, but is in good enough condition, that a full restoration is recommended versus a full rip and replace. The windows, doors, and storefront sections are 24 years old and need replacement due to the operational issues. They all have sealant and gaskets that have failed, along with damaged or missing screens, and hereby further specifically acknowledges that by submitting this statement of interest form, the Massachusetts School Building Authority in no way guarantees the acceptance or the approval of an application, the awarding of the grant, or any other funding commitment from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, or commitments of the Board of Selectmen of Kingston to filing an application for funding with the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second?
Good job, Sheila. All right, all those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
All right, so that's 400. Man, this is why I don't like set times. It's only 6:10. All right,
Donations?
maybe. I mean, part of me wants to move to the related,
Stickers?
no, part of me wants to move to number 5, wait. I was looking at 5, just because he's here. The report of animal control officer regarding compliance with November 27th, 2023 Order of Selectmen, discussion regarding possible enforcement action. Okay,
Which one?
number 5 on the appointments. So the lawyer's not, do we need the lawyer for this discussion? We might, right? Maybe, okay. All right, that's probably what we need to do. Okay. Moving to,
We can do the CDL.
how about number 2? Review of proposed schedule for the town administrator's annual evaluation. Can't imagine there's gonna be a lot of debate about that. So as is detailed within the town administrator's contract, his annual evaluation is due to be completed in April. In advance of this meeting, I reached out to the HR manager and requested she propose a schedule for our board to consider, which is before us this evening. So essentially, the process would begin in February for us, receiving the forms, filling out forms by a certain date, meeting with Keith to review what our evaluation said. Town council takes our individual evaluations, puts them together to create a consensus document, and then that document is presented, and then it becomes a public evaluation at that point, with the end date being April 23rd. So that's when we would discuss and present in public session. Any issues with that proposed schedule? Any questions? Does that schedule work for you? Okay. All right.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the town administrator's annual evaluation schedule as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
Still didn't get through that 5 minutes. Okay, donation.
All right. I move the Board of Selectmen accept the following donations. Site work donated by Crystal Construction, estimated value of $7,200. This is also for the Veterans Memorial Group, by the way. Electrical labor donated by Lenny Warner, estimated value of $4,000. Cast in place foundation work donated by Priello Concrete Forms, estimated value of $4,800. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, great. All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
And thank you so much for those generous donations.
I have
Still
6:15.
not
I have
6:15.
6:15 on my,
Oh, you do? Okay, great. That clock is behind by 2 minutes then. Sounds good to me. That sounds great. Okay, so our 6:15 is actually a continuation of a public hearing for earth removal. So PK Realty Trust submitted a request for an earth removal permit. The public hearing on this request was opened December 19th, 2023, where there was testimony heard from the applicant and attendees. The town proposed a peer review be conducted, and the applicant agreed to that request, so the public hearing was continued to January 16th. At that point, the peer review still had not been completed, so the hearing was continued to this evening at 6:15. And the applicant has requested that we continue that public hearing to March 12th at 6:15 PM. And unless anyone objects,
We
we can
still
do
need to
that.
open it first, right?
We do, so you have to, someone needs to make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
So I move the Board of Selectmen reopen the public hearing.
second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
Okay.
And then I move the Board of Selectmen.
Hold on one second,
Oh,
Eric.
sorry.
Any objections from the public on moving this? No? Anything online? Okay, good. Go ahead.
I move the Board of Selectmen continue the public hearing until Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, at 6:15 PM.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Kim, aye?
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
And then
Great.
I move the Board of Selectmen close the public
Nope,
hearing.
nope, don't do that.
Oh,
We
don't do
continued
that.
it. That's
Sorry.
that's an error. No worries. We continued it, so there's no need to close it. If we close it, we don't continue it, so
I'll retract that.
no worries. I don't think anyone got the chance to second it, so we're good. Okay, now we're on to review of aquaculture regulations for kelp. Were you here for the PK Realty?
Yes.
We just continued to March 12th.
There we go. All right, thank you.
All right, so in our last regular meeting, we discussed creating regulations for a potential new industry within our harbor for sugar kelp farming. The harbor master and shellfish constable created some draft regulations for our consideration. They were included in our packet. It went through a couple of versions, so just make sure you're looking at, I think, the most recent version there. It's also available to the public on the website for those interested in looking at it. It's in our meeting materials. So it's worth noting these regulations were developed based on information gathered from the State Division of Marine Fisheries, the Duxbury Harbor Master, the current Kingston shellfish license holders, as well as some things from our existing waterway regulations. With that said, does anyone have questions? Does anyone want to speak about these proposed regulations? I'm open to what you guys want to do.
Have they seen the edits of everything, and are they okay with these edits?
I mean, the harbor master is nodding.
Yes, okay.
So just to speak about a couple of the changes in the most recent
Most recent,
versions. The harbor master and I worked together to try to consolidate some of the like items. So the areas where it talked about how much space you needed around for boat navigation and things, or where markers had to be, that type of stuff is consolidated into the same area. We also added something at the end about, if the rules or regulations are not followed, then the harbor master has the right to revoke the permit, and the permit holder has the right to appeal that decision to the Board of Selectmen. I believe it says within a certain number of days. You have that, is that in that version you're looking at? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
It's not in this version, but it's in the one that I think, Tricia, you said that one's in the packet, right? Yeah, okay. I was just concerned that we had rules and then kind of a so what situation where if you didn't follow them, there was no recourse. Yeah, that right there.
Yep.
So if any of these above rules and regulations are violated, the harbor master reserves the right to withdraw the permit from the permit holder and will provide written notice. The permit holder will have 10 business days to submit an appeal to be considered by the Board of Selectmen. I guess my question then is for the applicant. Do you have questions or concerns about the proposed regulations? Because you would be obviously impacted by these, and this is our first attempt at putting these together, so I would like to hear. Oh, right, I forgot about that, thank you.
Jeremy, this is typically the applicant. I think the only thing I saw on it was the fee.
Oh, is the,
Sorry, the $300 fee
okay,
was much higher than the other aquaculture farmers in the waters.
okay,
I think they pay $25 per acre, and this is much higher. I
Okay.
still have to pay per mooring I put in, so each corner marker I have to pay $50 for. Each, basically, mooring I put in to hold the kelp lines in, I have to pay money for and have those inspected as well, so it seems somewhat like a hardship compared to the other farmers in the bay.
okay.
That's all.
I can't necessarily speak with clarity to this entirely, but I believe the thinking, when I was looking at that, was that it is in the off-season.
Mhm.
So there will potentially be an added cost to
Okay.
have someone checking these
Yep.
things. But I can't speak to whether or not that's why, but that was what I thought.
There's a couple of things, I think, and I'd ask Mr. Taylor, maybe just to confirm this, if I'm right. The first is, yes, there's the harbor master is not supposed to be working in the wintertime. Mr. Taylor goes above and beyond, and oftentimes will go out when he needs to deal with things in the wintertime. But I believe that it was the shellfish license is $300.
Yes.
And we based on consistency with the
The
shellfish license. as
Oyster
well.
license. not
Oyster
the-
license.
like
Not the razor
clams.
clam, but the oyster licenses are $300 annually.
That, no, it's the razor clam, the commercial razor clam license is $300.
Okay, I apologize.
The oyster license is state regulated.
Okay, I apologize, thank you. It was, I think the board, and we've got to look at this in the fiscal '25 budget, while I respect and appreciate the harbor master's willingness to go out in the wintertime, the next one may not be have as much free time as this one seems to have, so I just was, so I think that we need to look at, some sort of a reasonable fee for the harbor master to go out and check this winter activity, if in fact it does get approved.
So, one other thing that I was thinking about, and I don't think I'm ready to propose it in this round, but as we go through a potential year of this or two, we can revisit this. If there are a lot of reasons for the harbor master to have to go out to check on it or to fix things or to help because something went wrong, like maybe there's a per incidence charge that the person pays so that way it I don't know how that works functionally within the budget, or what kind of account would need to be set up to manage that, but that's another option too, that if there are added costs, maybe it's the person who holds the permit pays the cost when it is necessary, if that makes sense. That seemed fair, but, okay. Any other questions while the harbor master is up here? Concerns?
No, I think the rate looks great.
Okay.
I understand kelp all that much, but I
Hey, Joe Slogar, Shellfish Constable. I've heard the word permit come up multiple times. Is that going to be a town-issued permit? Because he needs a state permit as well from DMF.
So he needs an approval from the town of Kingston to utilize a portion of Kingston's waterway. So it's
Right.
not a permit like a razor clam license or things of that nature, but he needs an approval from the Board of Selectmen annually to use the area that he's requested to use for that activity.
Permit meaning has permission to have that activity take place.
Okay.
So it's separate from any
So
state required
basically,
permit.
the harbor master would issue like a cease and desist type of,
Well, under the rules and regulations that I'm hoping we'll be able to adopt and agree to, they have to follow the Kingston rules, right? Because it's the local jurisdiction of this. And should this not be followed, then that permission granted by the town would be revoked. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Any other concerns? I haven't heard anything from Tyler. I don't know if you did, if he had any specific concerns that weren't addressed.
No, the revised bylaw or rules were shared with Tyler, and he didn't have a lot of comment on those. I think he was satisfied. The only thing that I think was a question at this point that may not have been included in the regulations was a vendor, or not a vendor, but an appropriate vendor for the seeds that have to be purchased, and the fact that, I guess, and I apologize, this is way out of my league, there can be vendors of sugar kelp that may not be as reputable as others. So I guess I'd be looking for some help from somebody, just, how do we identify in these regulations an appropriate sugar kelp seed vendor?
So all the seed suppliers that I found have been extensions of like university and colleges that do this as like an extension. But that would be part of the state permitting process and federal process is who you can buy the kelp seed from, or the larvae.
Does that work for you?
So
who knew?
the only other, two requests for minor changes. One, if we could number this so that when we refer to something, a violation of some kind, we can say, per A1, instead of just
Sure.
bullets, because I think it's hard to differentiate which bullet is which. And I'm noticing that now because I wanted to say, the harbor master asked that we add kelp seed purchases must be made from a licensed kelp dealer. Right now it just says kelp purchases. So it should say kelp seed, but I couldn't tell you what number that is because it's just all bulleted. So if we could just
That
make
sound-
that modification.
And it sounds like you want to have a reference to the state. The state will determine the appropriate vendors that, through their application process for the appropriate kelp, sugar kelp seed vendor. Is that right?
Jared, if it said kelp seed purchases must be made from a licensed kelp dealer based on recommendations or from the state?
Approved by the state.
Approved by the state?
Yeah, I think we'll just say approved by the state or recognized by the state.
Recognized by the state, okay. Okay. All right. I
Who
mean,
knew?
I'm good with those as
So are
amended.
you okay, as amended, yeah.
Yep,
I'm just saying as amended.
okay. I mean, I can go through it if you want, so, move the Board of Selectmen approve the aquaculture regulations for kelp as amended to number the items, add seed to kelp seed purchases must be made from a licensed kelp dealer as recognized by the state.
Approved by the state.
Approved by the state. Okay, sounds good to me. Approved by the Department of Fisheries. Okay,
As we get through the process with the permitting, if there's like different wording they use, I can come back to the board and make recommendations if we want to
and
adjust
the
it.
thing
but-
about rules and regulations is we can amend them
Yep.
as we go if we need to.
Yeah,
if
so
we
I can
need to
touch base
tweak
with them
something.
and see if there's like specific, they might have a list of 5 people they only allow you to purchase from, but
Okay.
we'll get through more of it when we start permitting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so that's my motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
I think Eric beat you, Don.
Ah,
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, I.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
Okay, great, so it's 400.
Don's on dial-up.
And you guys can't do your public hearing yet, because it's at 7.
Council, there's the public hearing is 7:05, I believe, for.
7:10.
7:10, so he was planning on being here for 7:10, he should be here at 6:45.
Okay, no problem. All right, so let's see. What else can we do?
Sorry, Jared.
We did this one. We did that one. Can't do that one yet.
Number 5, we need to wait for the attorney.
Say that again? Yeah,
Number
we,
5.
so let's do additional item number 4.
So,
In their most recent meeting, the Recreation Commissioners voted to recommend that the beach sticker rates remain the same for the upcoming season, which is $20 for residents, $40 for non-residents, with a $5 discount for those who are 62 and over, and for veterans. They also recommend keeping their $5 fee for those who prefer to have their stickers mailed to them the same as well. So I will, again, as I always say, I think we need to be considering increasing fees, but this is their recommendation for this year. But I think as a town, we should consider these as like user fees, and they should increase each year a little bit.
and I just, are we keeping the non-resident number of permits the same as well?
I believe
Because I
so.
know that like the non-resident was like bought out last year.
Oh,
like-
it doesn't take very long, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah, so I just want to make sure of
I
that.
believe, yes, I think, and the cost for non-residents is $40. I don't know if I said that, yeah, I did, okay. All right, any questions, concerns? Okay, anyone want to make that motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen, sorry, I move the Board of Selectmen approve the recommendation of the Recreation Commission for the beach sticker fee of 2024 as presented this evening.
Second.
All those in favor? Kim, aye?
Sheila, I.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
All right, so that's 400. We can actually get through the next two probably pretty quickly as well. We have our Shellfish Constable has recommended our shellfish license fees remain the same. He already heard my speech. The fee recommendations are listed in detail in our meeting materials, but they range from $100 for non-residents down to free for residents who are 70 or older, so they kind of varies depending on how old you are, or if you're a veteran, so you can see that in the meeting materials if you're interested, but does anyone have any questions about the recommendation?
6:32 p.m.
No? Okay.
Nope.
I move the Board of
I move the
Selectmen-
Board of Selectmen approve the recommendation from the Shellfish Constable for the 2024 shellfish licenses as presented this evening.
I think anybody on Zoom should not have to be doing.
Go
the
ahead,
motion.
second it.
Second.
All those in favor? Kim, aye.
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
All right, so that's 400. And just a note, oh yeah, I should say this too, the beach stickers will begin, the sales for that begin April 1st, and sales for the shellfish licenses are available for purchase starting Friday, March 1st. And as a reminder, a parking permit is required and needs to be purchased online. Okay, so we currently have an opening for a CDL driver laborer with our Streets, Trees, and Parks Department, and after following the standard recruiting process, our Superintendent of Streets, Trees, and Parks has a recommendation before us this evening for a new hire. Oh, it looks like he wants to say something.
Well, I wanted, but
You can. I mean, they can't go until 7, and these guys can't go until 7:10, so.
Good evening. After reviewing the candidates that applied for the position for CDL driver, laborer's position for the Highway Department, I make a recommendation that we hire Mr. David Thompson as our newest CDL driver. Mr. Thompson has over 17 years of experience, and I think he's going to be quite an added employee for us.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Well, I'd be happy. I move the Board of Selectmen appoint David Thompson to the position of CDL driver laborer, a grade 3, step 6, non-exempt full-time position as part of the Kingston Town Employee Union Labor with the Streets, Trees, and Parks Department with an anticipated start date of February 20th, 2024, consistent with the terms of the offer letter.
Second.
Eric beat you again, Don. There's a Zoom delay, I swear.
Dial up.
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
All right. 400,
Congratulations.
and welcome.
All right,
to
thank you
the
guys
team.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, I don't know if I don't know how long the budget discussion is. Yeah. Huh? We have to get through it all anyway, right? So,
the vacation carryover, resignation.
yeah, we could. All right, let's go to 9. So, we received a request from the town administrator that despite his best efforts, he's been unable to use all of his vacation time and is requesting we consider allowing him to carry over an additional 5 days. So he actually has 6 days that aren't eligible to be carried over, and he's only asking to carry over 5. So,
Probably not gonna use those either.
seriously, we're just gonna be having this same conversation next year.
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the request from the town administrator to carry over the additional 5 vacation days.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
400. I know, we can see
Thank
the
you. I
tan.
appreciate
You
it.
tried, but
I'm
you didn't
trying.
get that here, so.
No, I didn't.
All right, so we received a notification of a resignation from the Kingston 300th Committee that we need to accept.
I move the Board of Selectmen accept the resignation of Melissa Bateman from the Kingston 300th, effective immediately.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
Okay, that's 400. And a reminder for those in the room and at home, we have openings on the Kingston 300th Committee, so reach out to the Selectmen's office if you're interested in getting ready for those festivities and coming up with some brainstorming ideas. Oh my goodness, are we just down to the budget?
Yeah.
Well, all right then.
5 minutes.
So, all right.
We have meeting minutes.
In our meeting on January 11th, the town administrator provided us with an overview of his fiscal year '25 proposed budget, gave us a budget binder for review, and we discussed in our last, well, maybe a couple meetings ago, I had a few questions that the town administrator provided some answers to, and I know there's been some additional adjustments since then. Keith, do you want to run through those briefly?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, at your places this evening was a 4-page spreadsheet, along with the same spreadsheet that was emailed to you earlier today, so you have that. There's a couple of items that I'd ask the board to consider amending the budget for, and I'm not sure how I got it. I'm going to steal somebody's copy. I got one right here. So I apologize. That's the same one. There were a couple of different things that. Yeah, that would be great.
That's fine. So,
I apologize.
no, that's fine. So for police department head contractual, the original budget reflected a recommendation of 175,000. The new revised is 197,789, so the difference is $22,789. The library, books and periodicals, original was about it was $8,731 less than what we're proposing now. Veterans medical ordinary benefits, that is, the new recommendation is a $30,000 increase from the original. And harbor master vehicle maintenance, although this was not, I would say Finance Committee wasn't overly receptive to this idea, so maybe we'll just scrap it. I had spoken with the harbor master and asked if, based on the vehicle maintenance line, we had a larger number in this fiscal year than we had initially budgeted, so, or had expected. So I had asked if he thought that $250 was a reasonable estimate for this upcoming fiscal year, and he mentioned to me that the truck probably needs new tires and there's some other maintenance, that $250 is really not a realistic number, and it will likely be over that. So I had reached out to the town administrator and asked if that be increased, because the reality is if we know it's going to be higher, we should try to make this as realistic as possible. Now, I'm sure there's a way to figure it out in a different way, but I just thought if we're using it for vehicle maintenance, it should be in that line. So that is part of the recommendation, but it was mentioned last night by Mr. Hickey to Finance Committee, and they were not overly excited about the $1,000 more.
Yeah, my suggestion would, if the board's willing, either there might be other line items in the harbor master budget during fiscal '25 that could absorb some or all of that, or if need be, we can transfer from budget savings in other departments throughout the year. So, for some willingness to agree and support the Finance Committee's recommendation, I think the board should just not bring that forward.
And to
Please.
be fair, he wasn't advocating for it strongly. I merely just asked, is this a realistic number? And the answer is no, but it doesn't mean that we can't figure it out otherwise. So I think it's fine to leave it out and not looking to have arguments with Finance Committee over $1,000. So, okay, so those were the recommended changes. My question that I had asked Mr. Hickey earlier today is that should we, so I'm good with the budget as it is. I had my questions answered. I feel comfortable with this being a level services budget, which is what the Budget Advisory Committee had asked for, and what this board had unanimously supported was level, did I say level? Level services, yes, okay. What this board had directed. I know that Finance Committee had wanted to see a 3% only increase, which would not be level services. So Keith was kind enough to provide us with some recommendations on cuts if we need to get to 3%. The recommendation before us this evening is a level services budget. I am comfortable supporting the town administrator's recommendations. My only request is that the budget reflect that if we decide to support that as a board, that our column match his column, so it doesn't look like we've changed his recommendations, that if we are on the same page, it should reflect so within the budget. That was my request. Did you guys have questions or concerns? Did you get all of your questions answered?
I'm always about, I have a very, doing budgets for this amount of time, I just feel as though level of service is most important. I just don't see every year you can say what you want about 3%. We can try really hard to do those types of things, but the ebbs and flows of what happens in a year from now is very difficult to know. I think you've done a really good job of trying to figure out what's going to happen. It's really hard with certain departments to do that, but I'm fine with really having the level of service. I think it's most important. And I think you've done a good job of trying to get to what we need to do and seeing what, I don't want to cut. I don't think we need to cut at this point.
Well, and at the end of the day, if we don't like the, oops, sorry. At the end of the day, if we don't like the bottom line number, or Finance Committee doesn't like the bottom line number, we can look at those recommendations, which I think was the intent. Eric?
I agree. I'm good.
Okay. Don?
No, same. Level services, I think, is extremely important in the community, so.
Can I just ask Carol to provide us with the general fund number, just to make sure that we're recommending the correct amount, please?
The budget, the total budget,
Yes,
bottom line
please.
number?
Yes, please.
Am I including the increase to the harbor master
No.
or no?
No.
Okay. And Keith, am I including the deductions that you recommend at the bottom?
Oh, Dr.
So I did have a couple of suggested reductions if the board wanted to entertain those. One is, we've had some pretty inconsistent use of the employee benefit tuition reimbursement. Any employee who applies and there's funding available can receive up to $2,000 a year towards their tuition, towards tuition, excuse me. We have $10,000 budgeted. The suggestion I had after talking to the HR manager was to reduce that from 10 to 4,000. And in speaking to the Streets, Trees, and Parks superintendent about some of the cuts that we had proposed to get to 3%, the tree chipping, the brush chipping, excuse me, is something that is asked. That he looks for volunteers to work overtime on a Saturday at the transfer station to cut brush. Oftentimes, there are no volunteers to work overtime to cut the brush, so what occurs, if that does happen and this brush needs to be chipped, the Streets, Trees, and Parks Department will go up during the week and chip that brush at the transfer station during regular business hours. Felt as though because the opportunity to go up on Saturdays is something that's not very often taken advantage of, that we could eliminate the brush chipping on Saturdays and just do it during the regular working hours of the Streets, Trees, and Parks Department and save $9,500.
Okay,
Okay?
sounds good. Okay.
So with me taking out the 1250 and those two changes there, the total amount of the budget that you'd be recommending is $55,442,097.
Do we know what a percentage increase that is over last year's budget?
Just a minute.
Thanks. I'd love to drop the schools out too, but I think I talked to you about that. I'd love to know what, if we just drop the schools out of the budget from last year and then we drop the schools out from
Yep.
this year,
No, Carol has that.
what the increase is of just the non-school part of the budget. I just want to see that because I know we're kind of guessing right now.
So the non-school expenditures, without the adjustments that Carol's making now, it's a 4.53% increase in
Okay.
spending.
4.53, all right.
Yes.
It's probably still close to that after you
Did you say
make.
that's the school or the non-school?
Non-school.
Without school,
Oh, got it.
just town.
Yep,
Okay,
got it.
that's helpful, thank you. So that's,
Sure.
so the town level services is 4.53%?
Yes.
Okay,
Got it.
all right. Any, so the other numbers, water fund, sewer fund, renewable energy are the same as what's in our materials, Carol?
The wastewater had changed by 25,900 and change. Do you have that updated sheet? Wastewater line for wage and personnel should be 112,787.
How about I tell you what I'm looking at, and then you can tell me.
Okay.
So I have a recommended motion with specific bottom line numbers. So general
All right.
fund you gave me at 55,442,097. Water fund, I have $2,094,509.
Just a second. I just have to pull up the document.
You know, everyone is riveted. It's just
Excuse me.
popping popcorn. It's just so entertaining, right?
Okay. So water, you said you have what?
$2,094,509.
That's correct.
Okay, and then I have sewer.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for that one?
Yep.
$3,232,682.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. So wastewater is 3,232,682.
That's what I said.
That's what we have.
Yep. Did I not say that? Okay, well, it's the fine. It's the same, that's fine. Renewable energy, 750,000.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so,
You want a
does anyone
motion?
want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen recommend FY '25 budgets for the general water sewer to the Finance Committee with the following bottom line amounts. General Fund, $55,442,097. Water Fund, $2,094,509. Sewer Fund, $3,232,682. And Renewable Energy, $750,000.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
And this doesn't mean this is the budget that goes in the town meeting warrant, just as a reminder, Finance Committee presents that, so this is just our recommendation, and it is likely to change if Finance Committee makes some changes. Thus far, they've been fairly supportive of the proposed budgets. I don't believe there's been any that have really been I think they've all been unanimously supported. So there was some discussion about feeling like it's too much of an increase last night at Finance Committee, and some discussion about that, but so far, they've supported all the budgets as they were, so far, so good. Okay? All right.
Oh, I got that one.
Well, he's here, though. Okay. So we can move to our appointment number 5. Thank you for everyone's patience in this jumping around a bit. So, item number 5. So at our meeting on November 21st, we held a dangerous dog hearing and ultimately voted the dog a nuisance dog. At that hearing, our board provided 6 conditions that the owner was to comply with within 60 days. On February 1st, the dog's owner informed the animal control officer that conditions 1 and 2 had been complied with, so that includes walking the dog on a specified leash of a certain length and having a muzzle on the dog when the dog leaves the property. However, the owner said he has not been able to meet conditions 3 through 6, which included the dog receiving some obedience training, getting spayed, and the owner obtaining liability insurance and installing a roofed dog run. So keep in mind, that's just a summary of the finding. That's not all of the words in that. I just wanted to give you guys a reminder of what we discussed there. So the animal control officer has given the dog's owner a 30-day extension to comply with conditions 3, 4, and 6. However, if the board would like to grant an extension to the owner on getting the liability insurance, that's up to us. That the animal control officer can't issue that extension. And council has provided our board with 2 recommended options. So I don't know if you want to speak to these, or you want me to read them from here? I mean, you're welcome to come to the table and introduce yourself, that's fine.
Apologize for cramping the style on the budgeting display.
We need to spread out, we have a lot of materials.
So, absolutely, Steve Chaplin from Mead, Tallerman and Costa, Town Council. Essentially, the board would have 2 options. The board could either extend an extension to the owner, or the board could authorize Town Council to file a lawsuit to seek an injunction to make the order that the board made a court order, an injunction could be enforceable by a complaint for contempt, which could be monetary fines from the court, could be potential imprisonment for the defendant. It's, you know, as to how that might play out, that's something we probably would want to discuss in executive session, because it would be litigation strategy, but just to give the board a flavor for where this could go if the board were concerned about compliance.
Thoughts on those two recommendations?
So my question is whether the owner would be able to, you know, obviously we could allow the extension, but then it says if it's not met by March 2nd, then we'd authorize council to file a case. Can we ask the owner if he would be able to meet this 30-day extension?
That's, you want to, sorry, you have to go.
Oh, yeah.
And start with your name and address, please.
Matthew Frazier, 60 Walter Fonts Road. So I have talked to Kingston Animal Hospital. They've recommended that the spay be 3 months after her second heat, which her second heat should be approximately March. So we've got an appointment scheduled for July, but that could move up based on when her heat actually is.
The animal control officer has the ability to extend that more though, right, given that situation, the spaying, correct?
I believe so.
This is, we just have to vote on the liability insurance piece. Okay,
I would say the liability insurance piece is the one piece the
The
animal
one
control
piece.
officer does not have.
okay. So
authority to
anything
extend.
other than that, so the fencing and the other things, you can request extensions directly from the animal control officer.
Okay.
She just can't grant the extension on the liability insurance. So the question before you is, do you think you could
Yes.
obtain the insurance by that date?
By March 2nd?
I believe I could. Ultimately, I've come to the conclusion that I cannot afford to put in everything that's required. And ultimately, even if I did, I'm not sure what my dog's quality of life would be at that point. And unfortunately, I've decided that I need to rehome her. And so I'd like some guidance as to what restrictions will follow her, whether it's in-state or out-of-state. I don't plan on rehoming her into Kingston for obvious reasons. It wasn't an easy decision to come to. My kids are still pretty torn up about it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
So to field that question, first of all, very sorry to hear about what your family's going through.
Thank you.
In terms of giving you guidance as to where to go, I have to be very careful. Obviously, I'm town council, so I can only give legal advice to the town. I can't give you legal advice.
Right.
The town's position is that the order is an enforceable order. We have enforcement authority within our jurisdiction, but our position would be that the order would follow the dog wherever it goes. As to what another community might do, we can't speak to that.
Can we, let's say he rehomes the dog in Hanover, is it out of our hands at that point? Or you just said that the order would follow the dog to another community, but then it would really be up to Hanover to enforce it, right? If it's outside of our community?
As a practical matter, I would agree with that. It would be difficult for me to imagine a situation where this board says we know this dog's no longer in town, but we have concerns that there might not be liability insurance in place, so we want you to go file a lawsuit to get an injunction. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, okay. So, okay.
So anything
Yeah, I
outside
mean,
of Kingston is
my-
outside of our jurisdiction?
My concern would be to make sure that when I
wouldn't
rehome her,
concede that, but
Okay,
that would be an argument.
yeah, my concern is I just want to know when I rehome her, what I need to tell her potential new owner, as far as you would need to do X, Y, or Z, I want to be upfront and, let them know exactly what has to be done.
So again, I can't.
But
I
if
can't-
that doesn't transfer, to take your example, if she's rehomed in Hanover, does she have to be in a fenced-in yard? Right? Does she have to be on a 3-foot leash? Does she have to be muzzled in public?
So I think.
Those are the questions I need to have answers to
Yeah.
be able to properly rehome her, because I don't want to rehome her and then have someone be like, well, you didn't tell me X, Y, Z, and then there's another problem.
So two parts of the answer. For me to answer that for you
Yeah.
would be like me being your lawyer, and I'm not comfortable doing that.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
feel like it's unethical of me to do that.
Sure.
As to what the town of Hanson's view is gonna be of this order, we obviously can't speak to that because we're not them.
Yeah.
So there's an order by the Board of Selectmen in place now in Kingston. If this dog is rehomed to some other community, whether it be in Massachusetts or outside of Massachusetts, how is that community gonna know there's an order from the town of Kingston on this dog?
Only if they call and ask us. I have had that happen one time before.
Okay.
Only one time before.
I mean, I'm not trying to hide anything from anyone. I want to be upfront and let them know. That's why I'm asking.
So I think, if you want to play it as conservatively as possible,
Yes, sir.
I think you tell them, these are
That's
the requirements from the town of Kingston. They may or may not be upheld in another community. But if you want to be completely upfront and honest with them, I don't know why.
No, that's fine. That's the direction I need.
I mean, I think also, it's hard to opine about the future, but had these conditions been met and had the dog stayed in the community, I don't think, like, we could have potentially revisited the leash thing, revisited the muzzle thing. We could have looked at all of these things. So I look at this as like, this is where we were at this time. It doesn't mean that, 2 years down the line, you couldn't ask for us to look at it again and see if our conditions could potentially change. I don't know. I can't say. So, I mean, they could see the same thing. Like, so say the dog gets spayed, say the dog gets obedience training, say, maybe a different community would change the requirements, even if they did agree to uphold them.
So my question now is, the suggested motion is talking about the liability insurance not obtained by March 2nd. I mean, it certainly doesn't seem to me like he's going to be able to rehome the dog in 2 weeks. So I'm wondering if, we can only do a 30-day, yeah, go ahead.
So if I could, when I drafted the proposed motion, frankly, my concern was, my expectation was that you were looking to rehome the dog, and frankly, not looking to incur as few expenses as possible prior to rehoming the dog. It sounds like, based on your conversation with us tonight, that's exactly what you're trying to do. My fear, so obviously the fencing is an expensive item,
Yeah.
certainly. I have no idea, frankly, what liability insurance is. But I think, while I understand it's a financial obligation or commitment to get liability insurance, I just think that's reasonable, based on the fact that, if the dog were to get away somehow, there's insurance in place to provide some sort of claim against if something were to happen.
That's fair.
So that was my thought. If you get this liability insurance and then 2 weeks later you sell a dog, oftentimes an insurance company will refund the remainder of the term of the policy. So while there might be a bit of an upfront cost, you may get some of that back when the policy's canceled. I get it, but I just also think you got a responsibility, based on the dog's past behavior, to do something to protect the neighborhood if in fact something were to happen. And that was my rationale for it.
So, I'm hesitant to authorize council to file a case in district court right now. And I mean, I understand why we would do it. I mean, I do. I'm sort of assuming that an insurance company may not give him liability insurance, because I have a feeling that you have to say that there's an order against this dog, and it would be I think, I'm not an insurance person, but I just have a feeling it's not gonna work well. I'm wondering if maybe we just do the first part of the motion, extending it to March 2nd, and see, get an update from him on whether he was able to get the policy or not, and then make a decision on the second part.
So just timing-wise, just for your knowledge, the board has a meeting on the 27th of February. So what I'd ask, if you could, so what we'll do is we'll place this on the agenda. if you're able to get insurance and can share that information with the dog officer, animal control officer, then we can, we'll just bypass that on the agenda altogether. If not, then you can come and explain why, and the board will have to make a decision at that point.
So would we do an extension now, tonight?
I think you should, to March 2nd.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable?
That's fair.
Okay,
Okay,
good?
yeah.
Okay, I
No,
was
that
like,
works- that
check
works
with
for me.
them, check with council. Okay,
Do you want me to make the motion?
sure. Unless, Dawn, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay,
All right, so I move the Board of Selectmen extend the deadline to obtain liability insurance until March 2nd, 2024.
Second.
all those in favor, Kim, aye.
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
All right, so we'll see you on the 27th, maybe.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you very
Very
much.
sorry.
And just for what it's worth, Animal Control has been fantastic. They've been very helpful, and I really appreciate them. And thank you all.
Very sorry for you.
Thank you.
7 o'clock.
Sugar kelp.
Continuation, all right, so.
Yay, Jared.
And everyone's in the back of that side of the room. All right, so in our meeting on January 31st, we talked about this a little bit earlier with the regulations, but we opened a public hearing on a proposal from a resident for a sugar kelp bed, where we heard from both the applicant as well as the Shellfish Constable, Harbor Master, and members of the public. We continued the hearing to this evening to allow the department to develop the regulations, which we have adopted this evening. And also to allow the applicant and the staff to gather some additional information. So before we go any further, I'd ask for a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I move the Board of Selectmen reopen the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
All right. So, does anyone have any additional comments, questions about the proposal on this? No, I know we've talked a lot about it. Nope, I'm getting a lot of head shakes. Anything from the board? Nothing from the public? Nothing from the board? Wow, all right. Okay, well, I mean, we had most of our questions answered last time. Tyler
Yeah,
had some concerns
yeah.
about not having regulations, which I understand, so now we have that. So, I mean.
I
we
think
can-
you've done a great job, Jared.
Yeah, we can close the public hearing then, and then have a motion on.
So I
the
move
approval.
the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
Great, so that's 400. And now we just move to the motion on the approval.
Awesome.
Do you want to do it?
Okay, I move the Board of Selectmen approve the proposed location of the Sugar Kelp Farm.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
And Jared, it's amazing. You've stuck through a
You stuck
lot
through
of
it.
meetings and presentations, and
Now the hard part comes.
I'm excited for you, and I can't wait to see how it goes.
I'm excited for a new adventure.
Yes, thank you to
Yes.
thank you to the harbor master and staff.
It's a lot of work. A new industry. Why not?
Okay, all right, let's see. Are we just down to minutes and the 7:10 public hearing
Yeah, and then the report.
and the report? Okay, well, let's.
You want a motion?
Let's do the minutes. Get that out of the way. I did provide some edits. They're in there. It says KE edits in the folder. Thank you, everybody.
I move the Board of Selectmen to accept the open session meeting minutes of January 16th as amended in the packet.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Shall I?
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
All right, that's 400. I guess, Keith, do you want to give an update in the next
Sure.
5 minutes?
Happy to. We have had, I think I let the board know last time, we have 3 submissions to the request for proposal for legal firms, including Talaman's firm. We'll be trying to review those. The board I think, should hold probably a special hearing or a special meeting at some point in the near future to interview one or more of those firms if you want to do that. The boat ramp, and I'm sorry everybody left from the Harbor Master, that boat ramp project is supposed to begin on March 1st. They should be done by the 1st of May, so that's good news. The second phase will be upgrading the parking. That'll be a separate Conservation Commission application and application, I believe, to the state as well. We were notified last week that our IT manager, Marie Grossman, is going to be retiring in mid-July. The fire department has hired the 4 new firefighters that was approved at town meeting last spring. 7 communities received Mass Wildlife Habitat Management grants. Kingston, with the hard work of the Assistant Conservation Agent, was awarded $23,765 to treat invasive aquatic plant species variable-leaved milfoil at Smelt Pond. And the Kingston Fire Department received a grant of just under $19,000 to replace a worn-out gas-powered chainsaw with a battery-operated saw and a piece of equipment that fit tests firefighter breathing apparatus. So it's a safety improvement for the Kingston firefighters. So congratulations to both groups. Happy to answer any questions.
That's great. I don't have questions. Does anyone else have questions? I really thought we were going to be here until like 9. I'm shocked that we're ahead of schedule. Okay, well, excellent. And I know the fire department's coming in our next meeting to give an update, yes?
Yeah, the fire department was supposed to, Chief Douglas was supposed to come tonight, but because of the anticipated lengthy agenda, we pushed him to the 27th, where I'm sure he's very excited about coming and giving the board an update on what's going on with the fire department.
I think because our first one was put off, we had expected it would be longer, which is why this is taking so much longer.
I guess one last thing that hasn't been said yet tonight that I guess maybe be worth saying is the Board of Selectmen has made a conditional offer to our police chief candidate who was here last week. Selectman Bouchard and I are meeting with that individual tomorrow to work on a contract with him, and if we're able to come to terms, we'll be back in front of the board hopefully in 2 weeks to ask the board to consider approving an employment contract with Mr. Holmes. So excited to see where we continue to move forward with him, and had a great conversation with Brian over the weekend, and he is more than excited to come to Kingston and be the Kingston's next police chief.
That's great. And we're looking at a April start date, you said, correct?
Yeah, he was looking at potentially April 15th, but that may have changed a little bit. He's hoping to come sooner.
Oh, okay,
So
great.
it might be closer to the 1st of April.
So April-ish, okay.
April-ish. I
Great.
love April-ish.
And then another thing, we talked about revisiting the potential limit for tax work-off program, maybe in the next meeting. So just have that. And it's 7:10. Okay. So, we received an email on January 29th from our animal control officer requesting a dangerous dog hearing after receiving a complaint from a resident who was bitten by a dog on January 22nd, 2024. Our staff consulted with town council to notify the dog owner of the hearing, and a formal letter was hand-delivered to the owner, which is a required procedure. A copy of the letter is in our meeting packet for anyone who wants to look at that. It also has a bite report from animal control of the incident that took place not only in January, but also an incident that took place October 15th of last year, and a summary from council on the Massachusetts General Law on nuisance dangerous dog hearings. We also have a memo from the animal control officer outlining the dog's behavior since October that includes her recommendation before the board. So we don't have to read a public hearing notice for these?
Not required.
Okay, great, I like that.
Awesome.
Okay, so, but we do need to make a motion to open the public hearing.
I move the Board of Selectmen open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye?
Shayla, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, aye.
Okay, so that's 400. Now I'm going to rely on you again. Walk us
Excellent.
through.
Thank you. Glad to be here, glad to assist. For the record, again, Steve Chaplin from Mead, Tallerman, and Costa. We're town council in the town of Kingston. We're here pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, which basically says that if a town receives a complaint that a dog may be dangerous or a nuisance based on one or more incidents, that the town has to investigate, and the authority that's charged with investigating that is the select board. So that's why we're here tonight. The statute requires that we hold an evidentiary hearing. So we will call witnesses to the podium. We will take their names. I will swear them in as if were a court hearing. My role here is to assist the board as best I can, and that's largely up to the board. I'm happy to answer questions about the law. I'm happy to inquire of the witnesses if you wish for me to do that, beyond merely swearing them in. We've done this once before since I've been with Attorney Tallerman's firm. My style, although this is not a hard and fast rule, is I typically hear from the owner first, because we've included in the meeting packet the animal control officer's memorandum, the police reports, some photographs of the injuries, and in my experience, typically the owners don't contest the underlying facts. Because ultimately what the board has to do is the board has to find what the facts are surrounding these incidents. Based on what those facts are, the board has to make an initial conclusion. Is this dog a dangerous dog, as that term is defined in the statute? Is that dog a nuisance dog, as the term is defined in the statute? Or is the dog neither of those things? If the board finds that the dog is neither a nuisance dog nor a dangerous dog, then the hearing's over. It doesn't go any further than that. However, if the board makes a finding that the dog's a nuisance dog, the statute says that the board has to make some orders regarding remedial measures that can be put in place to mitigate the impact of the nuisance animal on the community. Similarly, if the board finds that the dog is a dangerous dog, the statute actually enumerates 7 remedial measures, and the board is tasked with ordering one or more of those as is appropriate. Those include confinement to the residence of the owner, liability insurance policy, muzzling, and the most extreme is to have the dog put down, humane euthanasia. With that being the summary, the next step would be to call our first witness, swear them in, and to start taking testimony.
That sounds great. I'll follow your lead.
So with that being the case, I would ask the dog's owner, if they're in attendance, to come to the podium. Is the dog's owner in attendance? Right up to the podium, yes.
Okay, so we just need to speak up, so if you're at a microphone, just kind of move back from it, so we're not shouting at the folks at home, but project in the room. So
Okay.
these microphones, just for everyone, so everyone's on the same page, these don't have speakers in this room, so it's only for the recording for the folks at home. So just keep that in mind. If you can't hear us, we have to speak louder, not speak into the microphone louder.
Yes.
Okay? So,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I will put on the record that at my last place of employment, there was an ongoing complaint that my voice was too loud.
Oh, well,
So-
it isn't for me.
It was a bit of a running joke that I didn't find particularly funny. So could you please state your full name for the record?
My full name is Paula Dwyer Kamensky.
And where do you live? What's your residential address?
I live at 142 Lake Street in Kingston.
Can you please raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now in hearing?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Have you had a chance to review the hearing materials, particularly the reports of the animal control
I did
officer?
read over it, but I'll tell you, over the past several recent months, I'm having a terrible time with my memory, I'm ashamed to say, and it's getting worse by the day, you
So-
know, and I have to write everything on the calendar, but then I have to remember to look at the calendar. So I'm afraid that my mental status is deteriorating.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I appreciate you letting us know. So I'm gonna try to help you out a little bit. So your dog's name is Tyson?
Yes,
Tyson's a Rottweiler?
he's a Rottweiler.
Do I have it right that Tyson is 6 years old?
Yeah, I think it's closer to 7 now.
More like 6 and a half?
In May, I think May he'll be 7.
Okay. And so you're aware that there was an incident on October 15th of last year?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it was about 12:45 in the afternoon?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That
And-
I remember vividly.
Well, tell us what you remember.
Okay. I had been in the hospital and gotten home maybe 2 days before then, and I got a call from a nurse from Bayada in the morning, and she said, I will be coming to see you today in a few hours. And I said, okay, are you afraid of dogs? And she said, oh, no, I have 2 huskies. I said, okay, well, I have 2 Rottweilers, and one will lick you to death. The other one will definitely bite you. So I said, call me before you come to my house, so I have time to put him up, so you'll be safe to come in my house. Now, I will also tell you that my property is posted. I've been rescuing Rottweilers for over 35 years. I am very, very knowledgeable about the breed, and unless anyone else in this room has owned them and rehabilitated like I have, then I would tell you right now, I consider myself an expert on the breed because I have owned them since 1988, and I have rescued many. Tyson is the first and only dog I ever got that had fear aggression. And I rescued him from North Carolina. He was scheduled to be euthanized the following day. And I called the sheriff where he was, and I said, do not put him down. And I have a friend whose name is Scott Hollis. If you're familiar with the dog world around here, you might know his name. But he is the dog advocate for the state of Massachusetts. And he travels everywhere to pick up dogs. And I knew he was going to Alabama, called him, asked him to pick up Tyson for me, and he did. And when he brought Tyson up, we met in Middleborough. David was with me. When we got out of the car to go talk, I talked to Scott. David took Tyson from the leash. Scott had no problem, said he was a great dog. David took him. They fell in love, the 2 of them. They ran and played. But I knew that the dog had a history because just what they told me from where he was. He'd come from a family of a man and woman, husband and wife. The husband put a lot of time and work into this dog. He was very smart, knew all his commands, would do anything I asked him to do. The wife, however, was brutal with him. And he was petrified of women, particularly with long blonde hair. And fortunately, I was able, from what they told me and from what the dog told me, and you have to be able to read dogs very well if you're gonna rehabilitate them. You gotta know where they're coming from, you gotta know what they're afraid of, and you gotta know their triggers.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah?
So turning your attention to October 15th, can you tell us what happened on that afternoon?
On that afternoon, yes, I told her not to come in, to call me before she got to my house. So the next phone call I got was 3 hours later. And it was her, and she said, well, I know you told me to call you before I came, but I'm sitting in your driveway. I said to her, all right, stay there, do not come in my house. Let me go put Tyson up. So I took Tyson into my room, but I stopped, I have a bathroom in my room, and I stopped to use the bathroom before I locked them in. And then the next thing I know, I heard, ow, 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 and I ran out in the other room. Mariah was there, and the girl was at the door, and she was saying, he bit me, and I said, why did you come in my house? I told you not to come in my house. Oh, I thought you said I could. I said I would never. And his signs everywhere saying, beware of dogs. I have Rottweilers. It's got the head of a Rottweiler, the sign. And I saw the little rip in the pants here. There was a hole. And she said he bit her, I think, further down too. She said there were 3 bites, but I said to her, listen to me. You go get that checked out, and don't ever come in my house again. Now leave. And I called the company, Bayada. I mean, this is a visiting nurse. I am a nurse. I was a visiting nurse for 11 years. I wouldn't walk into someone's house without them opening a door for me. And if I'd been told they had a dog that bit, I could not understand for the life of me what this girl was thinking.
Can I ask you just a couple of quick questions?
Yeah?
So you don't dispute that Tyson bit this person, right?
I know because she told me. I didn't see it, but I asked her to go see the doctor.
You did see some injuries after
No,
she...
I didn't. I only saw a rip in her pants, a
I see.
teeny on the back of her.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew, obviously, I mean, I figured, yeah, he bit her, though I never saw the bite myself, you know, because I just thought, go to the doctors, get that checked. Because I didn't see it happen, and I didn't see it afterwards, except for the rip in her pants. And I figured, you know, he's a 130-pound dog, and he must have been petrified. Everybody who knows me, everyone knows my history with Rottweilers. Nobody would ever walk into my home without calling me first or knocking on the door and waiting till I can put Tyson away. Anna is the other Rottweiler in the house who will just love you to death. But Tyson has fear of people he doesn't know, particularly blonde, and this was a blonde woman too, by the way. You know, one of his triggers. I was sick to my stomach over it. So I called Bayada, I told them what happened, and I told them, please, don't ever send a nurse to my house again, because on one other occasion, they sent a nurse to my house. And I happened to have Tyson, I think I had him in Mariah's room with the door shut at that time, because I knew way in advance she was coming. She had called to let me know. And she walked in my house too, and I said to her, oh my God, please, I have Tyson put up, but please knock on my door or call me before you come in my house. And she was lovely, and the next time she came, she did just that. So other than that, that woman that came in that day, and I can't understand how she could misinterpret what I told her, and just walk in my house. As a visiting nurse, I have never, ever, ever just walked into someone's home unless they opened the door for me. I mean, to me, that's just...
Can I jump in? I appreciate all the background on that. There is another incident that I want to ask you about, and we do need to hear from some other people. On January 22nd of this year,
Yes,
there was a bite in the Silver Lake Sanctuary.
I was not present.
Who was present?
I was there. I
Okay.
was walking my dog.
I'm just going to ask her first, and we'll swear you in afterwards and hear
Okay, sorry.
directly from you. That's okay. So who was there, ma'am?
David, this is, David and Mariah are twins. They're 21 years old. They are my grandchildren that I adopted when they were 5 years old. They both suffer from PTSD, and these Rottweilers have gotten them through more than you can imagine.
So you weren't there at the sanctuary when, in
I
January?
didn't go there. David took the dogs out, and he had them both on leashes, and he was walking. This is what he told me, so this is secondhand.
So I'm just gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
Because this is, although we're not in court, this is like a court hearing, so I can only have people testify
Right.
to what they saw with their own eyes, heard with their own ears,
Okay.
et cetera, et cetera.
All
So,
I can tell you is that David came home, he was heartbroken. He said, I did a stupid thing. He said, I let Tyson off the leash, and he bit someone, and I said, tell me about the bite, tell me about the person, you know, I went through all that, because I go into nurse mode when it comes to physical injury like that. So he told me what he knew. He was obviously traumatized by what had happened, so I'll let him tell you.
so before I do that, I have maybe one more question for you, but this is the board's hearing, and the board members probably have some questions that they want to ask you as well. My only question would be whether you had a chance to review the photographs that were included.
Yeah, I did see them, yes.
Okay, and you don't dispute that those are the bite injuries, right?
I don't dispute that at all.
Okay.
Again, I'm a nurse, and I wonder, is the man here?
I believe everybody is here, but before we go there, that the board needs to have an opportunity to ask you questions if they have any questions.
Okay.
The other folks, and then I might have a question, so if we could bring her back up, right?
We can absolutely recall witnesses, absolutely.
Okay, that's fine. You okay with that? Dawn, are you okay with waiting for questions till we hear all the testimony?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so, ma'am, I'd like to hear from David, ever so briefly. So maybe if you can just change places. I don't think this is going to be a lot of questions.
I have two pictures that I need you all to see at some point.
Would you like a chair?
So David, could you state your full name for the record?
My name is David Flores,
David, where do you live? What's your residential address?
142 Lake Street, Kingston.
Can I have you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now in hearing?
Yes.
Can you just tell us from your vantage point what happened on January 22nd of this year?
Yes. I was walking through the trail, and at that point, you know, I was letting them do their business. I was just walking them, and I eventually, I'm honestly foolish for doing this. I feel terrible for this even happening. It's my fault, you know, I take full responsibility for my actions, you know, like, I never wanted this to happen. I never want my dogs to hurt anybody. You know, I've been bitten many times, and I know how painful it is. And I let him off the leash, and I was probably maybe 15 to 20 yards away from him. I was just letting him do his thing, and I was walking, and we came, there's a divot. You kind of like take a left on the trail, and then you go down, and then there's like an opening, and there's a lake, and I saw the victim and his wife there, and when I saw that, I kind of panicked, and Tyson charged, and he did bite him, and when I saw that, I ran over. I said, Tyson, come here now, and he ran right over. I strapped him up, and that's basically what happened. I mean, you know, he came over, and he says, I need to get your information. I panicked. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I really didn't say much. I just gave him my name. My name was David, and he asked me for my last name. I said, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I've never been put in that situation before. I didn't really know what to do. And I asked him, I said, may I see the bite, please? And he lifted up his leg pants, and it was on the calf, and it was a pretty bad bite, and I told him that you need to clean it, and you know, you need to take care of it, disinfect it, and that's when he left. and I carried on. That's basically what happened.
I appreciate your candor. I don't have any more questions for you. I don't know if any members of the board do.
I just have a clarifying question. You stated I've been bitten many times.
Yeah,
Were any of those times by Tyson?
no, never.
And then I guess, how did they connect the bite to Tyson, since you didn't share your contact information?
He had to call the police, and that's when they came and they got his information, and then I don't know how it all works, but
Okay, I was
Yeah.
just more curious, because
Yeah.
if you didn't exchange information, how did they know?
Good question.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are they registered with the town? Do they have a dog license?
yes, they do. I paid all the citations, I paid all the fines. You know, I've been very cooperative with animal control. They've been very nice to me. They've been communicating with me and letting me know everything. And I'm just, like I said, I'm very, very sorry for the victim, and I'm sorry, I really am. And I just want everybody to know that, like, I never wanted this to happen. I just feel very terrible about that day. And I've never, like that, ever since then, I've honestly had anxiety, and I've been very upset with myself ever since that day until now, so.
Have you had a chance to look at the materials that we were provided for this meeting? So that included the definitions of a dangerous dog and a nuisance dog. Are you familiar with the legal definitions?
Yes.
Okay, and did you see the pictures provided to us?
I did not know.
Okay. If it's okay, I would like to
Absolutely.
show him, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want him to have to put it up on the screen, but I just wanted to give you a chance to just review the materials that we have. To be clear, I'm not trying to make you feel worse. I understand you feel terrible. I just want you to see what we see so that we all have the same information. I'm sorry.
Really sorry, man.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Can we
You wanna
just
take-
take a little recess?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, okay? Okay, I don't have any other questions for the owners. Does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
You guys can sit down. Just so everybody knows, we're gonna hear from the animal control officer, then we're gonna hear from the victims, then we're gonna close the hearing, and the board at that point will deliberate. So if you're done testifying, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. You can leave at any time.
But you can take your seats if you want to stay.
Absolutely. It's a public hearing. Everybody's welcome to stay to the very end. But if there's a part that you don't want to see or you don't want to be in the room for, nobody's forcing you to stay.
All right, animal control officer.
Okay, you're up. Could you both state your names for the record?
Joanna Boudreau,
Sonia Buckner?
And can you please state your titles for the record?
Senior Animal Control Officer.
And I'm the Assistant Animal Control Officer.
I'm going to ask you both to raise your right hands. Do you both solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now in hearing?
I do.
Thank you both very much. We're going to give you the podium and let you tell us about your investigation and what you found and what your recommendations are.
Okay. I'm going to start with the first incident that occurred back in October. We had received a call, we were dispatched by Kingston Police, that we were contacted by the bite victim to say that she was bitten at a client's home. She was a home health aide person, and she went to the home to visit the client, And upon entry to the, before she entered the home, she states that she did call the victim, and, the dog owner, and say that she's here, and she proceeded to, to go into the home. When she got to the door, she was met by 2 Rottweilers. One was much more aggressive than the other one, but needless to say, she was met by 2 Rottweilers. The next thing she knew, without provocation, the dog, Tyson, bit bit the victim. Mrs. Kamensky was not present at the time. She states that she was in the other room when she heard the commotion. She entered the kitchen, and that's when she and the bite victim had exchanged words, and then she left. I contacted Ms. Kaminsky, and she went on to say that she didn't advise the individual to enter the home, that he's a good dog, but he can be aggressive, and he had a bite history, and so on and so forth. So we advised her at the time that her dogs were not licensed. One of them, rabies had expired. She needs to get it taken care of. We reviewed the mandatory 10-day quarantine process with her. We issued citations for the dog causing injury, first offense, and the dog not being licensed. Let's see. And the dog was placed in a mandatory 10-day quarantine by the animal inspector. Dog was released without incident after the first incident. I did review with Mrs. Kaminsky that, the behavior of the dog is alarming to us, and that they need to be more diligent about, especially if they know that there's, external people coming into the home, that they need to make sure that this dog is put away. They agreed, and that was the end of that situation. On January 21st, we were dispatched by Kingston Police that there was another dog bite that occurred. This particular incident happened over at the Silver Lake Sanctuary. The victim was walking with his wife, having a nice stroll through the woods, and they heard commotion, and before they could react, Tyson was behind them. The victim had luckily gotten his wife out of the way, but unfortunately he was bitten in the back of the leg. According to the photos, it does appear that the dog bit, let go, and then bit again. Again, this was an unprovoked attack. The victim called 911. The police arrived, took statements. Again, I reviewed rabies protocol with both the victim and with the dog owners, and told them that they were going to be charged with the following violations: failure to restrain, causing injury, and the dog was found not to be licensed and vaccinated, so he was also cited for those. Strongly advised him that the dog owner, that this is not acceptable. This is the second bite in as many months, and that we are going to, with the dog, because of the second incident, we are going to impound the dog at the shelter, have the dog serve the quarantine so that we can monitor the dog to make sure that nothing else happens during the quarantine, that the quarantine order is followed, because apparently, after the first incident, it's like, okay, it's an accident, but this one was much more severe, again, unprovoked. So I consulted with the animal inspector, and she was in agreement that the dog should serve the quarantine at the shelter. The dog was there for a period of 10 days, serving its quarantine. The entire time that the dog was there, the dog was agitated. Staff could not go near the dog. Myself and Officer Buckner were the only two that were able to interact with the dog, and I use that term very loosely. He would growl, lunge at the cage, the kennel when you walk by, and if he wasn't growling, he would just try to stare you down. He was disruptive to the other dogs at the shelter. It wasn't a pleasant experience while he was there. 10-day quarantine came to an end. Officer Mueller, Animal Inspector Mueller, she issued the quarantine release, and the fines and the fees were still not, they hadn't been paid by the dog owners, so we were going to hold the dog. I told the owners that, I'm not comfortable releasing the dog based upon this is a, serious situation. So I'm going to request a dangerous dog hearing before the Board of Selectmen. I went through the process and what that would entail. I didn't get into a lot of detail. It was just brushed over that this is how the process works, and this is what could happen. So they went down the next day, they paid their fines and their fees, and legally I can't keep the dog if they've paid their fines and their fees any longer, so the dog was released back into their custody. And that's when I contacted the Board of Selectmen after reviewing, the bite, the photos, and speaking with the victims. I just do not feel comfortable with this dog being in the town of Kingston. He showed aggression at the shelter. He's obviously, has a bite history, not only with us, but a statement from Mrs. Kamensky. She stated that she rescued him from North Carolina from a police department. They were holding him because he has a bite history. So they sent him up here and made it our problem, So as public safety officers, I can't in good conscience, this dog is going to bite again. And it may be a child next time. It's just not a good situation. Typically, as you guys know, that when we have a hearing, we try to be pretty lenient, and we put conditions of keeping, leash, training, muzzle, etc. That's not, in my professional opinion, I've been doing this for 16 years. I worked under Deborah Mueller, who was the animal control officer for 25 years. She and I have consulted, and this dog is a danger. He's not gonna, no matter if you lock him up or not, it's just predictable. It's gonna happen again, and it's gonna be a lot worse. And I don't want that on my conscience. As a public safety officer, I need to make sure that people in the town that I serve are safe. And unfortunately, my only recommendation for this dog, and it's a decision that I do not make lightly, it is to have the dog humanely euthanized. We don't take euthanasia very, very lightly. We discuss it, we contemplate it, we review it, we discuss it again, before we have to make an arduous decision like this. But given the unfortunate circumstances of his aggressive behavior, again, as public safety officers, I have to step up and make a difficult decision for the safety and welfare, and it's my recommendation that Tyson, unfortunately, be humanely euthanized.
I don't have any questions for the animal
Can
control
I-
officer, any of the board members.
Can I ask a quick clarification question?
Go ahead, Don.
Did you say that the dog was not licensed in October and then still not licensed in January?
That was inaccurate.
He was?
After the first incident that occurred in October, I believe he did have the dogs licensed.
He was vaccinated.
Hold on, I just need to see the. Where's the second, or the first? Oh, right here. Excuse us.
Yep.
Because they were
Sorry,
licensed.
yeah, this is just, we're just double checking my notes. I know I issued several violations actually, there was 2 dogs. Originally, I had issued citations for both the dogs, not, the second dog wasn't involved in the bite, so he was just issued citations for expired rabies and being loose. And then when the Kaminskis came to get the dog out of quarantine, they had indicated that there was only 1 dog. So I said, are you sure? Because I was told by the bite victim. So as I voided the citations for the second dog that wasn't involved, but now I have found out that the dog owner was untruthful, and it was both dogs. So depending upon what happens here tonight, I may, in fact, reissue for the second dog, the second dog. But one of the dogs, they were not licensed back in October. By the time January came, they did license them because they weren't going to be released without having them licensed and up to date with their rabies. So I apologize for that mistake.
Does that answer your question, Tom?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that, there was an incident in October, and if it wasn't licensed then,
Yeah.
and they were told that, and it had gone another 3 months without a license, that's kind of what I was asking.
Before the second,
I
right.
contacted town clerk to ask
Okay.
if it had been done, and it was.
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I do have a quick question. So, I know it's kind of two different dog situations, but as we're talking about rehoming dogs, like the last one, and then there's a bite history, and then it seems as though this dog had a bite history in North Carolina, and what's considered rehabilitation. I would really like to know how long they've had the dog for, and, have they only had the dog for 6 months and they weren't able to rehab it? If this has been
2 years. She's
2
had the
years.
dog for over 2 years, she
Okay.
said.
And keep in mind, this wasn't the way that it was characterized by the owner. This wasn't, it was rescued, but the dog was scheduled for euthanasia
Correct.
at the time in North Carolina.
Right.
Right,
So-
and
And
that's,
we had no knowledge of that until the dog came in to serve quarantine. She told us that in our office,
Okay.
so.
I think, if it's not in your package, I'd like to just read a quick statement by the animal inspector. She's actually here too, if
I
you have any
do
questions.
I think we have a statement from her with her, the statement that she believes the dog to be a risk to the public.
Yes.
Yes, we do have that in the
And we can
packet.
hear from her directly if the board would like to.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Animal control?
So the untruthfulness regarding the two dogs, so is it under the impression that they only had the one dog?
No, we knew they had 2 dogs, but according to David, he stated that there was only 1 dog that was
During
there
the
in the
second
park during the second incident. But when speaking with the victim, he had indicated there was 2, so that's why I had said to David, listen, we're issuing you citations for both dogs, because he's like, oh no, Annie wasn't there. But now he admits that she was, whether he was scared to admit that she was there or not, so I just.
She didn't bite, but she was
And
loose
perhaps
and
She
present.
was loose.
Perhaps that was,
Yeah.
he was thinking you meant both dogs were involved in the bite.
No,
right?
no, and Annie, the other Rottweiler, was not involved in the
Okay.
bite, it was just
Yeah.
Tyson.
Sure, he was just scared.
Any questions, Eric?
No.
Okay.
Okay, you may step down. Thank you. Does the board want to hear from the animal inspector?
Only if she has more to add than her memo, I guess. That's the only question. Deborah, do you have more to add than what's in your memo, or it's up to you? Okay.
Deborah
Good e-
Muller, Kingston Animal Inspector.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now in hearing?
I do.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
I just wanted to let you know it's 30 years for me, and I, of course, have seen the dog on a couple of occasions for the quarantine issue and release. And the one thing that, and we don't always know what a dog's going to do, and we certainly can't have a conversation with them, but this dog is going to bite again, given the opportunity. And the conditions at the house appear to me that there's no way they can control this dog. And the person that would be controlling this dog has to have the physical stature to do that. That's all.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Board
Any
does.
questions? No? Okay.
Constable Short is here. When he delivered the hearing papers, he had an incident with the dog, so I don't know if you want to call him or not.
the board?
I don't think we need it.
Oh.
I don't think so. Only if they want to be heard, if they feel like it wasn't, if anything was misrepresented, they're welcome to clear it, but otherwise, I mean,
That makes-
so, yeah,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It's your,
Okay.
it's your hearing, but that
So-
makes sense, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't, I don't need them to speak, but if they would like to, if either of the victims would like to speak to anything that was, they feel was misrepresented, or anything that they feel like wasn't covered already, they're welcome to. They do not have to. You want to? You can.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
As long as you're, I mean, as long as you don't answer any questions that aren't asked to you, that's absolutely fine. Yep.
So everybody that's going to testify, if you could state your name for the record,
Amanda DiCarlo.
and do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now in hearing?
Yes.
Okay, floor is yours.
Okay. Just, you said a couple of things, only if they were misrepresented, which they were. I did call, I am a visiting nurse. I have been for 8 years. I've never had anything like this happen before. A lot of people do have animals, and you say like, oh, you know, if you can put them away, she never said that he was dangerous or was gonna bite me. A lot of people do it out of a courtesy, because they don't know if you like animals. That's basically what she was saying on the phone. But I did call her at 11:15, and then again at 12:45. And when I called her at 12:45, she answered at 11:15. She said, call me when you get here. And I said, okay, I'll call. She said, I have a dog I have to put away. I said, okay. Called her at 12:45, and she said, meet me in the kitchen. Give me a few minutes, meet me in the kitchen. So I waited a few minutes, and I knocked on the door. She's hard of hearing. A lot of patients are hard of hearing. You knock on the door, they don't answer. So yeah, I knocked on the door and did what she told me, met her in the kitchen. She was nowhere to be found in the kitchen. I just stood by the door and waited, because I saw the 2 Rottweilers sitting in the living room. So she wasn't, I don't know what she was doing, not putting them away. And I didn't move, I didn't say anything, and then the dogs came in unprovoked. One of them, Tyson, came in and just started biting me. He bit me 4 or 5 times, unprovoked. I didn't say anything. I like to have him come in or anything like that. It was very scary. And I had my bag with me, thank God, because he was biting my bag. I was able to put my bag in front of me, and he was biting that, which has affected my job. And she came in the room and said, why are you yelling? You need to get out of my house. And then called my office and told them that she was calling the cops on me. So she was not nice. And that's all. Just a couple of things that were misrepresented. No problem. Oh, sure.
Because I just didn't see it, and I could have asked the animal control, I'm sorry, but about how big, like, is this an 80-pound dog?
So she said, when she was up here, she said 130 pounds. And if you saw the pictures, I was on 3 weeks of antibiotics and had to get a CT scan because of the pain that it caused me, and I still have pain from it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, but I just want to point out that the owner did say that when you called, she said what she said, but she stated that she was going to put him away, but she stopped to go to the bathroom.
I know.
And
I
then,
heard that.
and it sounds like she just didn't put the dogs away and got sidetracked.
And she said, meet me in the kitchen, so I gave her a few minutes, met her in the
Right.
kitchen, and
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
No questions from me.
Dawn, anything? Good? Okay. Thank you.
Is there anybody
You don't
else?
have to, but you can. It's up to you.
How are you?
And start with your name and
Peter
address.
Kraft, 2 Country Way, Kingston.
And Peter, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Matter now and here? Thank you.
So I'm the second victim. I was down at Silver Lake with my wife, and my wife was taking pictures of the ice on the water. I saw the 2 dogs coming through the woods at me. My initial reaction to this is, the dogs are off the leash. I'm down at Silver Lake at least twice a week. We live right there. I see dogs all the time. They're off leash down there all the time. Typically, those dogs are excited to see you. They want to lick your face. I noticed that the dogs were both charging kind of a little bit more aggressively, and honestly, you're seeing Rottweilers, one of them's over 100 pounds. I positioned myself in between the two dogs and my wife. Tyson, the male dog, started going to my right, the female started going to my left. Tyson put his nose more towards the ground, and I started going towards the female dog. And when I did, the dog grabbed me the first time, let go of me, grabbed me again. Now I'm in a position of, do I kill this dog? Which I love dogs. I've had them my whole life. I don't want to do this. Luckily, I saw, I think his name's Danny, coming, and he cursed and ran, called Tyson. I will say, when he called the dog came off. Annie, which is, I later found out was the female dog, like I said, probably would have licked my face off. She seemed to be very calm. I can say once he put the leashes on, the dogs minded him very well. He told them to sit, they both sat. My problem I have with this, I think, is a bit of responsibility, and where I asked this gentleman what his name was, he told me his first name. I asked him his last name. He said he was uncomfortable telling me his last name. I understand he said he'd never been in this kind of situation. Neither had I. So I asked what town he lived in. He responded with Carver. Then I asked for his phone number. I said, why don't you take your phone out with me and just share your information with me? Figuring most kids have their iPhone, they can just bump my phone. He said, I don't have a phone on me. And then he proceeded to give me a phone number. The phone number he gave me was a 585 phone number. So I said, thought you were from Kingston. He just gave me a 585 number. He said, yeah, that's my mother's number. Needless to say, none of this talking that I was having with him gave me fuzzy feelings that he was telling me the truth, which is the reason I called the police in the first place. When the police officer came down, he said he recognized the kid, knew that he lived on Lake Street, and I told him, well, he told me he was from Carver, and he gave me a 585 phone number. The police officer asked me for that phone number. I provided him with that phone number, and we found out that that phone number was, in fact, a phone number for the Duxbury Highway Department. So my problem in all of this is if he had been forthcoming, I would not have had to reach out to animal control, who luckily were able to verify that, in fact, the dogs did have their rabies vaccination. Because I went to the hospital that night, they would not do stitches because of apparently that can spread infection worse if they do the stitches. So I had to bandage my leg for several days while it leaked. I'm a pretty tough guy. If that was a kid, or my kid, and again, I don't want to see a dog get put down. It's just all about personal responsibility. These people have to be responsible for their dogs. If they can't be, then I don't know what else, I don't know what to say. I chose that night not to get the rabies vaccination at Beth Israel because of the cost of it. They knew that I was a veteran, so I could go to the VA hospital the next day. Fortunately, like I said, I was able to talk with animal control the next day, and they were able to verify that the dog did in fact have its rabies vaccination, so I did not go through that, pain. I have to say, it's a bit of a surprise. I did not know that I did not know prior to tonight we were talking about euthanizing the dog. So I'm torn on this. Again, because of how good the dogs were when they were on the leash. But I can't attest to anything else other than what happened to me at Silver Lake that day.
And nobody takes any of this lightly, and the dog has spent time with animal control, the dog has spent time with the animal inspector. It's not the first time this has happened.
Yeah.
So, I just, I don't know. I'm glad you called the police, because if this dog truly is going to bite again, as is suspected, it's
Yeah, I
an
think he had
unfortunate
questions
situation.
on how they found out that where he lived, but I had gotten the
Yeah.
license plate of his vehicle
Smart.
immediately.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Earlier you said that you see the dogs all the time loose. Were you talking about those dogs or just dogs in general?
No, just dogs in general.
Okay.
I'm always
Yeah.
down at Silver Lake, the sanctuary, and
Yep.
you see people walking out there. In general, if you see a dog that's off leash, odds are the dog's a great dog.
Yeah.
Some of them, I think it's a popular area to have dogs off leash, although I don't think it's a legal area to have dogs off leash.
Technically, according to our bylaws, Article 3, really? Oh, he was saying he doesn't know if it is legal. So I was going to mention, Article 3 of our bylaws, leash law and impoundment, no dog in the town of Kingston shall be allowed to run at large in any of the ways or public places in the town, nor upon the property of someone not his owner or keeper without written permission of the owner or occupant. No dog shall be allowed in any public place or any land or way within the town without effective tether designed for dogs or leash.
Yeah.
So Kingston has a leash law.
Yeah,
No
so as
dogs
far
are
as
allowed
I
off
knew,
leash.
unless you were at the dog park, your dog should be leashed.
Correct.
Yeah.
But like I say, I have seen a lot of dogs down at Silver Lake off leash. In general, it's some lab that wants to come up and just lick you and wants to be pet. I think most responsible dog owners know whether their dog presents a problem to the public or not. And I think in this case, they knew their dog
Okay.
presented a problem.
Any other questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Unless there's more testimony to be taken.
Just from Rob, I'm not sure that we need more, honestly. I think we're pretty good. Yeah. Okay. So from here, we go to close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
Okay.
I move the Board of Selectmen close the public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor? Kim, aye?
Shall I?
Eric, aye.
Don, aye.
All right, so that's 400. So I just wanted to briefly touch on the difference between a nuisance and dangerous dog based on the memo that you sent. Could you review those?
Absolutely.
Just for the benefit of the board as well as the general public.
Absolutely. So, we have two definitions that the board has to consider. For a dog to be a nuisance dog, that's a dog, there's three different ways to get to being a nuisance dog. One is by excessive barking or other disturbance. The dog is a source of annoyance to a sick person residing in the vicinity. The second way that a dog could be deemed a nuisance dog is by excessive barking causing damage or other interference. A reasonable person would find such behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment. And three, the third way that a dog could be deemed a nuisance dog, a dog that has threatened or attacked livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat or attack was not a grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. In contrast, a dangerous dog can be arrived at in one of two ways. The first way a dog could be deemed a dangerous dog would be, without justification, the dog attacks a person or domestic animal, causing physical injury or death. Or two, a dog could be deemed a dangerous dog if it behaves in a manner that a reasonable person would believe poses an unjustified, imminent threat of physical injury or death to a person or to a domestic or owned animal. So the board's first task at this point is to determine whether this dog falls under the umbrella of a nuisance dog, under the umbrella of a dangerous dog, or under neither definition.
Based on the testimony that we've heard this evening and the recommendations from and impressions from the animal control officer and inspector, I think this is a dangerous dog. This dog definitively will bite someone else, even according to the owner's testimony, so.
If that is the board's inclination, then you would need a motion to make a finding that, that this dog is a dangerous dog.
And the remediation that we're
Do we
suggesting.
then move for the next piece after that?
Yes.
Okay, so move to deem this, so I move to deem this dog, Tyson, a dangerous dog. Is that what you need?
So moved.
Wait, hold on.
Yes, I would like
Why
to.
don't you give me what you need,
So-
and then I will
so
say so moved.
The motion would be for a finding
Mhm.
that Tyson is a dangerous dog.
So move the Board of Selectmen have a finding.
To
that-
make a finding.
To make a finding that to deem Tyson a dangerous dog.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Kim, aye.
Eric, aye.
Don, aye.
Okay. And then the final piece.
So the final piece is, because the board has made a finding that Tyson is a dangerous dog, the board must select one of the statutorily enumerated remedial measures. So the first, I'll read the options into the record. Option 1, that the dog be humanely restrained, provided that no order shall provide that a dog deemed dangerous be chained, tethered, or otherwise tied to an inanimate object, including but not limited to a tree, post, or building. Option 2, that the dog be confined to the premises of the keeper of the dog, provided that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owner or keeper, provided further that such pen or dog run shall have a secure roof. If such an enclosure has no floor secured to the sides thereof, the sides shall be embedded into the ground for not less than 2 feet, and provided further that within the confines of such pen or dog run, a dog house or proper shelter from the elements shall be provided to protect the dog. Option 3 is that when removed from the premises of the owner or the premises of the person keeping the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or other tethering device having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length. Option number 4 is that the owner or keeper of the dog provide proof of insurance in an amount no not less than $100,000, insuring the owner or keeper against any claim, loss, damage, or injury to persons, domestic animals, or property resulting from the acts, whether intentional or unintentional, of the dog, or proof that reasonable efforts were made to obtain such insurance if a policy has not been issued. Provided, however, that if a policy of insurance has been issued, the owner or keeper shall produce such policy upon request of the hearing authority, that's this hearing authority, or a justice of the district court, and provided further that if a policy has not been issued, the owner or keeper shall produce proof of efforts to obtain such insurance. Option number 5 is that the owner or keeper of the dog provide to the licensing authority or animal control officer or other entity identified in the order information by which the dog may be identified throughout its lifetime. This can include, but not be limited to, photographs, videos, veterinary examination, tattooing, or microchip implantation, or a combination of these methods. Option 6 is that unless the owner or keeper of the dog provides evidence that a veterinarian is of the opinion the dog is unfit for alterations because of medical condition, the owner or the keeper of the dog shall cause the dog to be altered so that the dog shall not be reproductively intact. The final option is that the dog be humanely euthanized.
Any questions about those options? Okay. So I move the Board of Selectmen require that the canine named Tyson be humanely euthanized by the end of Thursday, February 15th at 5 p.m.
Oh, we need to change the dates.
Oh, right, today's Thursday.
Why don't we do Tuesday, the 20th?
Tuesday?
Just,
Monday's a holiday.
yeah, I know, that's why I was, well, you could do Wednesday, the 21st.
You tell me what date. Originally, our hearing was Tuesday, that's why.
Right.
Wednesday? So we can just say that 7 to 10 days by the 23rd.
Yeah, that's what I would
Okay.
do. And then the next part was
Yep, by the following, hold on,
like the 27th? That's a Tuesday?
proof of by the Tuesday. Okay, try that again.
That sounds good. Should
I
be stated.
move the Board of Selectmen require the canine named Tyson be humanely euthanized by the end of day on February 23rd, 2024. Proof of euthanasia must be provided to the animal control officer by Tuesday, February 27th.
Second.
Do we need to require anything, like as in muzzling until then, or only because of how long of a period of time that is?
It's just next week.
You certainly can.
You said the 20.
No, they have to have
Yeah.
it done. They have to provide proof by the 27th. They have to have it done by next Friday.
So the board could also impose the conditions that, any of the other conditions.
Yeah.
One of which could be confinement to the premises, another which could be that if the dog leaves the premises, that the dog be muzzled and on a 300-pound tensile strength
Okay.
leash not to exceed 3 feet.
So should I, for the purposes of the, oh boy, so,
So under the order, that was number 2, right? And then
so
number 3?
further require that the dog be confined to the premises of the keeper of the dog, provided, however, that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed locked pen or dog area upon the premises of the owner or keeper, provided further that such pen or dog run shall have a secure roof, and if such enclosure has no floor, secured, I'm just gonna keep reading the whole thing, okay. Secured to the sides thereof, the sides shall be embedded into the ground not less than 2 feet, provided further that within the confines of such pen or dog run, a dog house or proper shelter from the elements shall be provided to protect the dog, and further, when removed from the premises of the owner or the premises of the person keeping the dog shall securely and humanely be muzzled and restrained with a chain or other tethering device having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceeding 3 feet in length.
With the stipulation that that order be in place until the euthanasia take place. That's already been voted on.
Amending to.
Or amending them, right, that's an amendment to the earlier.
Adding that, right, to this. Okay. Is that good? Is that good, Eric?
Yes.
Okay, so, all those in favor? Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.
For the record, was there a second on the motion?
Yes,
Me.
it was Dawn.
I apologize, I
Yeah.
wasn't paying.
Oh, it was you, Eric? It was Eric.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
So 4-0.
4-0. Okay, so now, that's the end of that. And I think that's actually the end of the meeting. We did that all.
Yeah, we did.
We did it all. We even did the minutes. We did it all.
You know, to the victims who came and spoke, thank you for doing that. So we appreciate that.
And to the owners of the dog,
Right,
we're sorry for your loss.
right. I agree.
All right. Can someone motion to adjourn?
I just want to say, I have dogs myself, and I had a Rottweiler myself, and so I get it, but I just want to say, I'm very sorry for everybody in this situation, and it's not good for anyone, and nobody wants this situation to be happening, so, not a good way to end the meeting, but I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, Kim, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Eric, I.
Don, I.